Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something pretty cool. We're taking two completely different sources, looking at two completely different worlds, but we're going to find they're both talking about the exact same problem and the same solution, a shared blueprint for success.
All right, let's just get right into it. Have you ever had that feeling? You know the one, like you're playing a game, but you're pretty sure nobody bothered to give you the rulebook? Could be a tough essay, your job, really any big life decision. It just feels like success hinges on these secret, unwritten rules that everyone else seems to know.
And what's so wild is that this feeling, this problem, it shows up everywhere, at every scale. I mean, think about it. You could be a student just staring at a blank page, completely paralyzed. Or you could be a world leader facing a massive humanitarian crisis. The scale is totally different, but the core challenge? It's exactly the same. You're up against this overwhelming complexity, and you just don't have a clear plan.
You know, we get told this all the time, right? If you're struggling, well, maybe you just don't have what it takes. But what if that's a total lie? What if the problem has nothing to do with your talent or how smart you are? What if it's just that you haven't been given the right tools? What if you're just missing the blueprint?
So that's what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to take two totally separate toolkits, one for writing and one for global leadership, and we're going to stitch them together because they share one powerful, game-changing idea that anyone can stop being a passive player in the game and actually become the architect of your own success. Okay, so first things first, let's really dig into what these unwritten rules are. Our first source has a great name for it, the hidden curriculum. Think about school for a second. Students are just expected to figure out how to write a killer argument. It's like you're supposed to absorb these really complex skills, like how to cite properly, structure your thoughts, analyze deeply, almost by magic. It's almost never taught directly. It really is a hidden game. And this isn't just about writing essays, not by a long shot. This exact same problem plays out on the world stage. The old rules of humanitarian aid, that whole savior narrative, well, it's totally exhausted. It's failing. Why? Because it doesn't give local leaders a clear blueprint to build their own success. It keeps the rules hidden.
Okay, so what do you do? How do you win a game when you don't even know the rules? Well, according to our sources, the answer is simple. You stop trying to play their game and you start designing your own. You become the architect.
And this is the core idea, what our sources call the architect mindset. It's a huge shift in thinking. It says that leadership isn't something you're born with or that someone gives you. No, it's an architecture. It's something you design from the ground up. You're not just following the path anymore. You're the one drawing the map.
So, our sources lay out two different blueprints for us. One is at the micro level. It's a step-by-step plan for building a really solid academic argument. The other, it's at the macro level. It's a whole new framework for designing a strong, independent future for a continent.
All right, let's start with that first blueprint. We're going to see how this whole architect idea works on a small scale, with the most basic building block of any good essay, the paragraph. Here's the thing. The biggest mistake most of us make at first is we mix up describing something with arguing something. A weak essay? It just kind of lists what other people have said. It's basically a book report. But a really strong essay, now that makes an argument. It doesn't just tell you what happened. It tells you what it all means, and more importantly, why any of us should even care.
So how do you actually build a real argument? Simple. You use a blueprint. And this source gives us an awesome one. It's called the Peel structure. It's a super simple 4-step system that basically guarantees your logic is tight and that your reader never gets lost. You've got your point, your evidence, your explanation, and the link.
And you can see it right here in action. Look how this works. It takes a simple claim and transforms it into this really solid analytical point. See? It's not just an opinion anymore. It's a sturdy, logical building block that's ready to support a much bigger argument. That, right there, is architecture in action. Okay, so we've seen it on the small scale. Now let's zoom all the way out. Let's take that exact same architect mindset and apply it to something huge, like designing the entire future of a continent.
A huge piece of this bigger blueprint is all about taking back the story. For so long, the story about aid has been driven by what our source bluntly calls poverty porn, those exploitative images used to raise money. This new blueprint throws that out. It demands something called narrative sovereignty. It's about empowering communities to tell their own stories, with dignity and on their own terms.
So what's the end goal here? What is this new architecture trying to build? It's something called a sovereign workforce. Now, this is key. This isn't about teaching people how to manage handouts from other countries, not at all. It's about giving a whole new generation of local leaders the tools and skills to design their own solutions. The whole point is to make that heroic outside help totally unnecessary.
This whole idea just completely changes how you think about legacy, doesn't it? That quote really says it all. Legacy isn't about what you leave for people, like buildings or money. It's about what you leave in them. It's about the skills, the knowledge, the systems, the architecture that you help build inside them so they can keep building for themselves long after you're gone. And this type of legacy, this architecture, it's built on three main pillars. First up is convergence. This is where you merge real-world technical skills with a strong ethical foundation. So it's not just about knowing how to do something, but why you're doing it. Then there's continuity. This is about making sure knowledge isn't stuck with one person, but is shared, so that the whole system is crisis-proof and can outlast any single leader. And finally, contribution. This is about shifting the focus away from personal wins and towards laying a solid foundation for generations to come.
Okay, so what happens when we put these two blueprints together, the tiny one for a paragraph and the massive one for a continent? What's the big takeaway?
It's that the core principle is exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you're building a single, perfect paragraph for an essay or if you're architecting a plan for an entire nation. In both cases, you're designing resilient systems. Systems that empower people. Systems that are built to last long after you're gone.
And that's really the call to action from these sources, isn't it? They're telling us to stop being just passive students of the world, just trying to figure out the rules someone else made. They're challenging us to step up and become the lead architects ourselves.
And that really brings us to the final, most important takeaway. Success, it turns out, whether it's on the page or on the world stage, isn't about getting lucky and figuring out the hidden rules. It's about having the vision to design a better system altogether. And the architect's mindset? Well, that's what gives you the power to do it. So the question isn't what are the rules anymore, it's the one you're looking at right now.